Greetings, everybody. I'm addressing this video to Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan of the United States of America. Whose devout faith and aversion to social services are both well known. Mr. Speaker, my name is Lily Willie. I live in your country. I was born and raised in this country, same as you. My dad is a first-generation immigrant. The maternal line of my family is in the country since the 1670s. We immigrated from England, from Roxbury, London, to Roxbury, Connecticut, and settled eventually on that side of the line in the Midwest. My first language this lifetime is Hungarian. My second, but in many ways dominant, grammatically and otherwise, is English. You're looking at somebody who grew up until age 22 and a half of the 38 years this body had been around, with a tumor in the emotional and social hemisphere of his brain. The tumor was in my right temporal lobe amygdala, which is responsible for fight, flight, and aids in the interpretation of body language and social cues. Most of my right hemisphere hypothalamus was also affected. On January 7th, 2002, that stage 2 of 4 astrocytoma tumor was removed, giving me, socially speaking, for the first time in my life, a full social heart. Before that day, I had to learn about a lot of how people came to feel from books, from paying above average attention to movies. At any time somebody talked to me, it was data, not just about their thoughts. but about how the more I came to know about their lives, or about what they told me, how somebody could come to think those thoughts and feel those feelings, 2/3 of which I couldn't feel. Until I was 22 and a half, I didn't know what it felt like to be homesick. I didn't know what it felt like to be certain I loved my own cat. I didn't know what it really felt like to have compassion, to feel compassion. I knew what it was like to think thoughts that faced a direction of compassion. I knew what it felt like to take a sympathetic stance for or against something, because my feelings wouldn't tell me. Whether it was right, wrong, or other. My thoughts had to pick for me. For a lot of the hominid emotional spectrum, I had to pick thoughts on purpose and keep on doing things on purpose that would show sympathy, compassion, altruism, etc. to my fellow beings without the feelings to back them up. You're looking at somebody whose body is 38 and a half, and because of this condition, this disability of the nature that it was, until age 22 and a half, whose emotional social hemisphere is 16. Mr. Speaker, my parents grew up much poorer than they were by the time I was around. I'm lucky. Their work gave them Kaiser Permanente. That worked hard and compassionately to cover my brain surgery that was done at and by Oregon Health Sciences University on January 7th, 2002, when my emotional brain turned 1 year old. They thought then that what they were helping me with was healing a seizure condition and preventing seizures. The surgery they did help me be free of seizures for 7 years after the tumor was removed. it did something even more important. It gave me a heart. Not the blood pumper, but the heart. The kind of heart that the Tin Man or Wizard of Oz wishes he had. The kind of heart that moves you and many of your fellow beings to compassion. The heart that helps you care and know you care. Due to a seizure disorder and multiple psychiatric disorders, I today have Medicare. It's a wonder, Mr. Speaker, that I finished a German BA in 2008. From multiple conditions, including both my seizure disorder and multiple psychiatric disorders. I was barely able to complete my bachelor's in German in November 2008. But I did. There are millions of your fellow Americans in this country of all stripes that have it much harder. Of all ages. Some of them are not even old enough to be political yet. Some of them will never, particularly in this country, be able to work the type of job that thus far in our country we have made people have to work in order to have the type of health insurance that covered people like me. That covered people like a dear one of mine who has high functioning cerebral palsy and can walk and can talk. But struggles with chronic pain. And although she can hand sew, and very well, cannot endure to sit at a sewing machine. Her muscles and back won't do it. A sister of mine who now wrestles with multiple physical problems and psychiatric problems, some of them stemming from losing her baby boy, my biological nephew, to a malignant brain tumor when he was 12. He was the saint of our family, Mr. Speaker. And his passing really, really, really devastated our family and our clan in multiple ways. And there are boys younger than his 12 years around the country, and girls, and many kids whose emotional gender doesn't fit either. Little ones of all ages, including babies, who have it worse needed, whose families are poorer than mine and my sisters put together. There are people who are being helped by Medicare and Medicaid that are not even old enough to vote. Please reconsider your support of slashing the social services. Please reconsider. Not because the activists of the world want you to, not because some organization wants you to, but because many of your fellow Americans need you to. I'm begging. Please. Please. Thank you. L.W. Laughlin-Rose.